Welcome into Gridiron Icon this week, December 15th. It is Wednesday morning, and I am pounding the coffee, a nice Sumatra this morning. That seems to be a trend, right, for Gridiron Icon. But we want to cover what happened in this last week, and man, was this loaded with some great NFL storylines. I'm going to focus in on the Rams. I'm going to focus in on the Buccaneers and the Bills. We're going to focus in on that Cowboys and Washington football team game, which really had big implications in a number of ways. So let's dig into that. We're going to get back into interview formats with former players, coaches, and other influencers in the world of football, from NFL down to the high school and even beyond that rank. We're going to talk to a lot of fans and other people that really love the game of football. We're going to get back to that probably after the holidays. I've been mentioning that the last few weeks. But for this week, we're just, and really through the remainder until post-New Year, we're going to take a look at what's been happening mostly in the NFL over the last couple of weeks and just dig into some of the storylines. So let's jump right in. I want to start with, and I know this is going to shock everybody who knows me and knows the show, I want to start with my Rams, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Arizona Cardinals, in what was really a strong showing on Monday night out of the Rams. And boy, did they need it. Sure, they had just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, but that seemed like a get-well game, particularly with what's going on in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer, which just looks like an absolute train wreck at this point. But let's focus in on the game, and what a great game it was, particularly if you're a Rams fan, right? I really enjoyed the game. I did not expect, and I will be candid, the Rams to dominate in the fashion they did, or possibly to even win. They were playing in Arizona. As you know by now, on this Wednesday, at the time of this recording, the Rams were down 5 starters, including one of our best players in Jalen Ramsey, our starting right tackle, and Rob Havenstein. I mean, and even since then now, the Rams have locked down the facility because post-game, Odell Beckham came up as COVID positive. So it's just a total disaster on the COVID front right now for the Los Angeles Rams. But nonetheless, they go into Arizona and they steal a win from the Cardinals on their home field. And the battle between Sean McVay and Cliff Kingsbury continues. It's absolutely unreal. The Rams ended up winning. Sounded closer than it really was, 30-23. I think you have to look immediately at Matthew Stafford, who Rams fans have been very critical of over the last few weeks, particularly during that 0-3 run in November, where he threw a couple of pick sixes. The Detroit Lion fans of years gone by were piping in strong, like, yep, that's the Matt Stafford we know. But Stafford, in both the Jacksonville game and really in this Arizona game, showed why the Rams very likely traded for him. Incredible arm talent. Some of the placement on his passes in this game, the touchdown to Cooper Kupp, was absolutely unbelievable. He showed the Arizona defensive back frustrated as hell on the sidelines after the play. Great position, great coverage, and Stafford just threaded that to Cooper Kupp. The pass to Van Jefferson off the play action, the deep pass, was a thing of beauty. The only thing more fun might have been watching Van Jefferson's father, Sean Jefferson, the former Patriot great, on the sideline looking frustrated. I mean, what a conflict of emotion. Your son just ripped your team at the same time it's your son, and you've taught him everything he knows. Really an unbelievable moment. A lot of fun on Monday night. But sticking with Matt Stafford, what an incredible showing. He comes out there and he throws 23 of 30, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns. He looked amazing doing it. He looked to have command of the offense. And let's just call it what it is. You saw a lot of 12 personnel. You saw a lot of 6 offensive linemen. Did I mention that Tyler Higbee, the starting tight end, was also out on COVID protocol? So they brought in Kendall Blanton. They brought in additional offensive linemen, and they ran the ball with Sony Michel. Folks, we've seen this with Sean McVay before. When he runs the ball and he sticks and commits to the run, great things happen. And the Cardinals had been run over in a couple of their losses with the running game, and McVay committed to it. It was impressive. There were times I started to worry when he started going to some empty sets, but he got back to the running game with Sony Michel. And I want to remind everyone, Sony Michel technically is our third-string running back, if you're a Rams fan. Darrell Henderson took the starting job when Cam Akers went down, and the Rams are moving the ball. So Stafford, his command of the offense in this game, I think, was one of the more impressive things from Sunday. And, of course, you expect that. I'm biased. I'm a Rams fan. Nonetheless, it was a very, very impressive effort out of Matthew Stafford on Monday night. We cannot even discuss this game without talking about what Cooper Kupp is doing. We're seeing something that is incredibly rare, folks. Cooper Kupp ended the game with 13 catches, 123 yards, and an unbelievable touchdown. A couple of those catches were just works of art. The touchdown on the goal line, the over-the-shoulder catch that Stafford hit him for deep. The Cardinal DB was in position, but it was a perfect throw. It was a perfect catch. Folks, Cooper Kupp, what say you? Is he the best wide receiver in football? We can talk about Devontae Adams. We can talk about some of the young guys, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. But Cooper Kupp is putting together a season that, if it plays out, he is on pace to go for almost 2,000 yards receiving, almost 150 catches. It's unbelievable. Cooper Kupp is an incredible weapon, and teams know that he's coming every single week, and yet he still puts up massive numbers. He still burns the defense. When that play action is working, Sony Michel's running the ball, and Cooper Kupp is able to get open, you're talking about an absolute lethal combination with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. And that's without even talking about Van Jefferson, who's taking some of the plays Robert Woods normally would play. You're seeing some really great experience and game time experience with Skowronek, the rookie out of Notre Dame. And that's only because some of the other guys are banged up. So it's absolutely incredible what this wide receiver core is doing against Arizona, which has tended to be one of the better defenses, obviously, this season. They certainly are talent. They certainly are fast. But you didn't hear a lot out of Budda Baker, Simmons, some of the guys that have been making plays because the Rams came with a game plan and they executed. And that Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and a good running game is absolutely unbelievable. You throw in the progression of Van Jefferson, and wow, the Rams look absolutely amazing on Monday night. I think if you're a Rams fan, you had to really, really enjoy this game. Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. What are there enough superlatives? Is there enough we can possibly say about number 99, about Aaron Donald? He just took over the game, and he took over the game from the first play on defense. He took the guard and just rammed him back into Kyler Murray. Murray kind of scattled out of there, and then Donald sacked him. First play, they actually went one-on-one with Aaron Donald. Don't even ask me what Cliff Kingsbury's thinking. There were several plays where Donald was triple-teamed. Folks, he still had 3 sacks. Aaron Donald is double digits in sacks again. People seem to be talking about the amazing seasons happening by Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Bosa, all fantastic seasons. But I just don't know how anybody can look at what Aaron Donald does to a game and not say he's the defensive player of the year. Granted, I don't think he's going to get it this year. Voter fatigue. You know, he's had it for several seasons in a row. But the man dominates a game at 30 years old. He dominates and wrecks offenses. He had the spin move in what was probably the key play of the game on defense, where he came off the guard with a spin. He deflects Kyler Murray's pass, and Ernest Jones, the rookie, picks off another one this season. And he looked like he might have taken it. He could take it to the house. They did, in fact, catch him. But that was all started by number 99. It's just an unbelievable showing by a guy that he can take over a game from the defensive tackle position at 30 years old, and there just isn't anything an offense can do. At some point, Aaron Donald is going to wreck your offense. And he did it again Monday night in what was a absolutely critical game, playing without Jalen Ramsey, playing without several guys on offense, on the offensive line, etc. It's incredible. Aaron Donald threw team on his shoulders on defense and went after it. And you could see how it raised the game of every defensive guy around him. Leonard Floyd gets a pick on a very athletic deflection play to himself. Ernest Jones gets the key pick there on the goal line. Can we start talking about Greg Gaines? I mean, the man chased down Kyler Murray a couple of times. The man's 312 pounds, and he chased down Kyler Murray, who's without question, outside of Lamar Jackson, one of the most dynamic runners at quarterback. It's absolutely incredible. Greg Gaines is coming on, and he plays next to number 99, who just makes everybody better. That defense on Monday night was absolutely incredible. So here's my question for you as a fan. I don't care if you're a Rams fan or just a football fan. Are the Rams peaking at the right time? Have they found their groove? Halfway into December, as the playoffs approach, as a run at the NFC West is still possible. The Cardinals were the darlings of the year, and rightfully so. They were playing great football, particularly on offense. But suddenly they've hit a rut, and the Rams seem to be peaking when great teams peak as they go into the playoffs. What say you? I think that the Rams are putting something together. They've got some big games remaining on their schedule. They've got the Seahawks this next weekend. They're at the Vikings, who lost to the Lions. There's just no excuse for the Rams to not beat them. They're at the Ravens. That could be interesting with Lamar Jackson sustaining an injury this last week. And then, okay, here we go, ending the season, the rivalry game again. McVay versus Kyle Shanahan against the 49ers, who suddenly look like a really tough team. They're a tough out. The Niners are a weird team. They're a tough out the last few seasons. Now, they've lost a lot. Kyle Shanahan had a losing record outside of that Super Bowl, but he's been beating McVay senseless the last two seasons. So the Rams still have a chance at the NFC West, and I think they're peaking at the right time. What say you? Tell us. I would like to get thoughts from not just Rams fans, but other people who are watching football and love the NFC West. I think the Rams are peaking at the right time. Now, the Cardinals, that's the team that they're chasing for this NFC West title, right? They have left on their schedule the Lions. That should be a dub. They've got the Colts. That could be tough. They got the Cowboys. That could be tough, especially with the Cowboys defense suddenly coming on with Micah Parsons and company. And then they've got the Seahawks, which I think will be a W. So the Rams still have a very real chance of winning the NFC West with 4 games to go. This is going to be something to watch, and I think the Rams are peaking at the right time. And they've got 2 division games left, the Seahawks this weekend, and then they close with the 49ers. So if you're a Rams fan, lots to be excited about. So let's switch gears. Let's get off the Monday night game. Let's jump over to observations on the Buccaneers beating the Bills. It's incredible. The Buccaneers are solid. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. I don't think there's anything negative we can really say about the Buccaneers at this point. I'm not even going to get into the Antonio Brown nonsense. Looking at them and Brady and Gronkowski in particular, I'm just in awe of these guys at their age, that they're still doing this. Love them, hate them. They're playing really good football. And Tom Brady ran the ball a couple times on Sunday, took some hits, and Bruce Arians was like, enough of that crap. We don't want to see that anymore. And I thought it was funny. Brady's even posted on social media making jokes about it, Tony Romo's comments and whatnot. But what about the Buffalo Bills? 2-game losing streak. They lost to Darth Vader. Now they lost to Luke Skywalker, the evil empire, if you will, former New England Patriots. They lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Buccaneers in back-to-back weeks. The Bills were favorites to take the AFC East for sure, and many thought the favorites in the AFC Championship. And folks, that is in jeopardy. That is in jeopardy, despite the talent that they have on that roster. Now, Josh Allen is special, man. He is a special player. He can be a little inconsistent, but his physical talent is unmatched. He's unbelievable. I think the closest guy to him in just physical talent right now would be Justin Herbert of the Chargers, who just was unreal on Sunday again. But Josh Allen went into this game. He played his butt off. 36 of 54, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick. But I think it's time for us to realize that Josh Allen isn't winning the big games. he hasn't reached that level yet where he's putting the team on his shoulders and he's winning the games. Now, he tried. He tried on Sunday. He really tried to carry the load, and I think he is a really talented, tough kid. I really like him. But he hasn't won the big games. And now he's staring up, and I can't even believe we're saying this, at the New England Patriots as the AFC's number one seed, and clearly number one in the AFC East. I don't think anyone saw Mac Jones playing this well or the Patriots playing this well. Solid, once again, blue-collar football. Here we go under Bill Belichick. But the Bills aren't winning. And I think with 2 losses now to people who seem to understand their team is a telltale sign of trouble ahead. Now, looking at the game, look, we'd be remiss if we don't mention that Brady threw his 700th career touchdown pass. I don't even know what to say to that. 700 career touchdown passes. And, of course, it can't just be, a 10-yard out. It's got to be the walk-off touchdown pass in overtime to beat the Bills. And it was dramatic and it was unreal. It was fun to watch the Buccaneers ball boy chase that ball down. He was on it. Kudos to the Bucs and their organization. But here's Brady again. He finds Brashard Perriman, who really isn't a big part of their offense, hits him with a walk-off touchdown for his 700th. I don't know. What do you say? Is there anything left to say about Tom Brady, whether you love him or hate him? I'm not a fan. That's for a whole nother show. We've done shows on it. But you can't deny his greatness at this point. He is an unbelievable football player, and he shows up when it's important to show up. Now, just to put this in perspective, this was Brady's 72nd career passing touchdown versus the Bills, ties with himself versus the Dolphins, and Hall of Famer Dan Marino, who's done the same thing against the New York Jets during his career. It's the most by any QB versus any franchise in the NFL in history. 72 touchdown passes against the Buffalo Bills, a whole slew of rosters, a whole slew of defensive coordinators, a whole slew of defensive players that he has just beat senseless in Buffalo over his career. It's an unbelievable accomplishment for Brady. And at this point, we'll leave the Buccaneers with this question. Is Tom Brady the most valuable player in the NFL this year? Is he hands down the favorite? It's worth a conversation. It's worth a question. He's in the conversation, folks, in the top 3 to 5 players. What he's doing this year is once again unbelievable. What he's doing this year, again, is breaking all-time records. And he's doing it post 40. It's unheard of, guys. It's just unheard of what Tom Brady is doing. And I'm not particularly a fan of Tom Brady's for a lot of reasons that we've done shows on here on Gridiron Icon early, and we'll probably do many more. But I don't think you can deny Tom Brady's greatness at this point in what he has accomplished. So kudos to the Buccaneers who beat the Bills. Bills, they're in trouble. This is must-win territory the rest of the season for them. And it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun to watch. Good football ahead. Let's switch gears and talk about what I thought was the other big game this last Sunday, and that was the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington football team. It's a rivalry game. This is a rivalry situation. It has been for decades. It's featured some of the best players to ever play pro football or play in the NFL. And going into this game, I had predicted that the Cowboys, on another podcast, the Dirty Pocket podcast, follow us there as well, that the Cowboys would probably win this game, and they did. They beat the Washington football team. They beat them pretty soundly. It's how they beat them that was really interesting to me. That offense, when you look at it, Dak Prescott has played well, although we're going to talk about the fact that he's hit a rough patch, which isn't unheard of for quarterbacks, right? But when you look at that running back room with Elliott and Pollard, now Pollard's banged up. You look at that wide receiver room with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. It's ridiculous, the talent that they have on the Dallas roster. So I thought that the offense would come in what was, for the most part, a struggling defense for the Washington football team, and I thought the offense would roll, but it really wasn't the case. You have to look at the Dallas defense in this game as someone who carried the game, and I don't even know where to begin on Micah Parsons at this point. But let's focus first on Dak Prescott. So Dak now has had 2 sub 60 passer rating games in a row. It's for the first time in 4 years. He's 3-3 since returning from that calf injury. Dak's hit a rough spot, and it's not entirely clear why. They've had some injuries. CeeDee Lamb has sat out some games, a game. Now we're looking at Pollard being banged up. Zeke hasn't been the Zeke of yesteryear, so to speak. We've talked about that, but he has an embarrassment of riches on offense, and Dak's been struggling. It's very interesting. The way he's been playing at this point, you would have to look at that and say, he's got to get it together for the stretch run if the Cowboys are going to take what is fairly competitive NFC East. Now, they're clearly the favorites to win that division, but the Eagles are no slouch. The Washington football team comes to play, although they looked a little rough this past Sunday, particularly on offense. But is it time to be worried about Dak Prescott, or has he hit a rough patch? The problem with rough patches with quarterbacks in December is that this is when they should be peaking, like we talked about with the Rams early on. Dak and the Cowboy offense should be peaking in the month of December. They should be looking at a playoff run. It should all be coming together. Now it's midway through December, and Dak's struggling, 3-3 since coming back from the calf injury. So what say you, Cowboy fans? I think there's reason for concern, but we're going to have to see what happens now this weekend with the Cowboys, because if they drop one, drop two, it could become suddenly more competitive in what the last few years in the NFC East has just been an abomination, with teams under 500 and 500, actually able to reach the playoffs. It's there for the Cowboys to take. Come on. The Cowboys on both sides of the ball are incredibly more talented than the Washington football team or the Philadelphia Eagles. And forget the Giants. They're out of it. They're done. So maybe it's time to ask the real question when it comes to Cowboys and Cowboy fans. Is the defense, I can't even believe we're saying this, but is the defense carrying the Dallas Cowboys? I think there's a pretty good argument for that. I don't even know where to begin with Micah Parsons. I loved him coming out of this draft. I actually predicted, and you can go back to an older podcast, and you will see me predicting that the Patriots would not draft Mac Jones, but that Bill Belichick would trade up in the draft with his draft capital, and he would draft Micah Parsons. That's how much I liked Micah Parsons out of Penn State. But even I had no clue that he would be utilized this way. And you have got to absolutely tip your cap to the Cowboys defensive staff for finding a place to put Micah Parsons, who at this point in his rookie year is 2.5 sacks from Javon Curse's rookie record of 14.5 with Tennessee in 1999. There's 4 games to go, folks. He's 2.5 sacks away from Javon Curse's rookie record. He's also 2 games away from Curse's rookie record of 8 consecutive games with a sack. I didn't even see this coming with Micah Parsons. I thought he would be utilized as a true dyed-in-the-wool linebacker. But let's be straight. At this point, he's a pass rush specialist. Although I also got to say that there's been a couple of games where he's been in pass coverage. He had the big deflection a week ago in pass coverage that was picked off by the other Curse at safety in what was an incredible catch. So Micah Parsons in his rookie year is 2 sacks away from setting the rookie sack record. He's also still developing as a linebacker. This guy may be one of the next great, maybe. He is one of the next great defensive players this league has ever seen. He is putting together unbelievable numbers. He is wrecking ball games. He wrecked the Washington football team on Sunday. And again, I mentioned our other podcast, The Dirty Pocket, with Daniel Kelly, who's not a fan of Parsons. We argue all the time on that podcast about Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is incredibly special, and he's proven it week in and week out. They know he's coming. Offenses are game planning around Micah Parsons, and they're still completely unable to do anything to stop him. I mean, that's very Aaron Donald-esque. Look, I'm not going to put Micah Parsons in Aaron Donald's category yet. Donald is my guy, my favorite. But If you're denying Micah Parsons' greatness at this point, I don't know what you're watching. Now, sure, he's got parts of his game that is troubling, but he's still a rookie. He's still developing. He gets swallowed by big tackles if he takes them on one-on-one. He's still developing pass moves. I strongly suspect this offseason you're going to hear a lot about Micah Parsons trying to hook up and train with a guy like Aaron Donald or some of these other dedicated pass rushers to learn moves, to learn, schemes, to learn all the types of things that he needs to learn to be one of the most dominant pass rushers. But he already is. And he doesn't even have the tenure in the NFL yet. He even said this week that he didn't think the NFL was that tough. Be careful with those ones, Micah. Be careful with those. There's some tackles and guys, some guards that'll come looking for you when you make comments like that. But Parsons is special. I think that the Cowboys at this point are really being carried by that defense, particularly over the last couple of weeks. And what say you Cowboy fans? Agree or disagree? Now, with the division title is all but secured for the Cowboys. Let's be honest. The Cowboys are the cream of the crop in that division, the NFC East. They can completely focus at this point moving forward over these next few weeks on the number one seed, particularly since Arizona lost and Arizona visits them January 2nd. How big is that game going to be for NFC seeding, for the NFC Championship? God, that's going to be a great game. Can't wait to watch that. But the Cowboys can completely focus on that. The Packers grabbed the spot, obviously, with the Cardinals loss to the Rams. But the Cowboys are very much there. They control their destiny to some respects on getting the number one seed. Now, the only way that's realistic for the Cowboys is if they beat the Giants, win the quick rematch with Washington, which is just a week or so away on December 26th. They're going to need a little help. They're the fourth seed right now. But you could see a world with a little bit of help from other teams. And as a Rams fan, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see it. I'm being honest. But with a little bit of help from other teams, the Cowboys actually are in play for that number one seed. And everybody wants that seed. The Packers right now own it, which means a bye week to start the playoffs, which means teams got to come to Green Bay in December, January. Ugh. No. If you're Arizona, you want to play in Arizona. If you're the Cowboys, you want to play at AT&T in Dallas. If you're the Rams, you want to play in SoFi. Nobody gets real excited about going to Lambeau in the wintertime with that number one seed. So Cowboys fans, what say you? I mean, 4 weeks out, they really have an opportunity to, with the division all but locked up, if they take care of their business, to play for that number one seed. God, is this going to be a good playoff run, people. It's going to be a really fun playoff run the rest of the way with the Rams, Cardinals, Packers, Cowboys in that mix, the Buccaneers doing what they do. The NFC looks like a really fun, dynamic run towards the playoffs. So I'm excited to watch this. So incredible games. This is one of the best past weekends of football, Sunday and Monday. And we can only hope for such great matchups. We've got a few coming up. So let's switch there as we close out Gridiron Icon this week. Let's talk about what I think are some of the biggest games to look forward to this weekend. And I want to start with the Chiefs at the Chargers. And I only have one question. Is this a preview of the AFC Championship? Is this a preview of the AFC Championship? Who wouldn't love watching Patrick Mahomes duel Justin Herbert? Both of those teams loaded with skill position players on the offensive side of the ball. Both defenses have the ability to play well. The Chiefs' defense has been playing well lately. The Chargers can play well and be fairly dominant under Brandon Staley. But every week is a whole nother conversation. They don't show up some weeks the way they do other weeks. Is this a preview of the AFC Championship coming up this weekend? Chiefs at Chargers. Who do you like? I'm going to say it. I like the Chargers in an upset. I think the Chiefs have to come into SoFi, play the Chargers. I think that the Chargers seem to be playing well and peaking. Another one of those momentum conversations. They seem to be peaking at the right time. And I really think Herbert wants to overtake Mr. Mahomes, which is no small task. Patrick is so talented, one of the best players in this league. But I think that the Chargers are going to get the upset Sunday. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 28-24. I'm going to throw that out there as an early prediction here on our podcast. And I think that the Chargers, Chiefs, and God, that AFC Championship chase is just as good as the NFC. Just loaded when you talk about the Bills and you talk about the Ravens and you talk about even the Browns sticking their nose in there. There's some good stuff to come up there in the AFC. So let's stay there. You're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? But one of the games I'm really watching Sunday in a laugher ball is the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you ask, why are you watching this game? It's the two worst teams outside of the Lions in the league, the battle for draft pick positioning. I'm watching it for one reason. I think it could be the end of Urban Meyer. I just think the Urban Meyer project has just been a complete disaster in Jacksonville, particularly for a guy who's notably talked about football cultures and how to build them. It's been an absolute debacle. It's a disaster. If Houston can come in and they can steal a win from Urban Meyer, I think it's over. I think Shad Khan's got no choice after Sunday to maybe play out the rest of the season. Best case scenario, I could see him dumping immediately post-game, but I think he'll probably play the rest of the season out with Urban Meyer, but I think the Urban Meyer project is over if they lose to the Houston Texans. So that game becomes suddenly somewhat interesting in the ugly bowl of the week. Urban Meyer's got to get a W against the Texans. He has to show that he can coach that football team if there's any future for him in Jacksonville. And at this point, I was not as big on Trevor Lawrence as others were coming into this draft. But at this point, I think we all agree Trevor Lawrence deserves better. This is not a lot of fun for Trevor Lawrence either. And I'm not sure Urban Meyer or that offensive staff is what Trevor Lawrence needs. So, interesting game of the week. I actually think that the Texans are going to upset the Jaguars. I really do. I think that they like their coach, Culley. They play for him. I think there's enough players on that team, Brandon Cooks, some veterans in the running back room. Davis Mills looks like he's getting the start. He has talent if he can stay the course. If they come with a good game plan, I think we're going to see the end of Urban Meyer Sunday. I'm picking the Texans to win this thing 17-13 in a really ugly game that probably ends the reign of Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, and for that matter in the NFL. That's my take. My third and final game, which I think is really going to be fun to watch, and it all depends on one player, and you guessed it, the Baltimore Ravens at the Green Bay Packers. I think the Packers are peaking right now too. I think you're seeing Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and that running back room. I think you're seeing them come together, even though they've lost Randall Cobb. I think the Packers are still a team to beat. They should have beat the Buccaneers last year. That game was just filled with mistakes on the Packers' part. But the Ravens coming into Green Bay, the real question is, does Lamar Jackson play in this game? He sustained an ankle injury this last Sunday. He's by far and away the Ravens' best player. He's dynamic, the former MVP. Will he be healthy enough to play in Green Bay where it's likely to be cold? Best case scenario. Does he even play? If he doesn't play, I think the Packers roll. I think it could be an ugly game, 31-7. If Jackson does play, I still think the Packers win 28-10. I just think it's the Packers' time. I think that Aaron Rodgers is nearing the end of his career by choice. I think that he smells the clock ticking. I don't think the Ravens have enough firepower on offense or defense, for that matter, to stop the Packers. I think the Packers will actually roll on Sunday, and that's even with Jackson playing. And I think there's a slight chance Lamar doesn't play Sunday. We'll see. So those are my picks as we close out this week on Gridiron Icon. It was an glorious week of NFL football. I thought there was some incredible matchups, one of the best Sundays and Mondays of the entire season. It's going to be tough to beat that going over the next few weeks, but the playoffs are on the line. Teams are hungry. Clocks are ticking. So tell us what you think. We love if you would like and subscribe to Gridiron Icon. We are going to get back to the interviews in our fun format after the holidays, after New Year's 2022. But to give us your opinion, like, subscribe. You can find us on all the major podcast networks. And you can also find us on YouTube, where you got to look at this face. It's not that great. But hey, we have some fun, and we listen to all the feedback, and we have some good arguments and some good conversations. So like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Icon Gridiron, Gridiron_Icon on Instagram if you like that. We're also on TikTok. That's a thing, people. Learning how to do that too. But thank you for joining us on Gridiron Icon. And of course, you can always find us on gridironicon.com. Enjoy the games this week, and we will see you next week. Thanks again for joining us.